Hello, my name is Blaine. I'm with Dream Home Interior Remodeling. Today we would like to take a few minutes to discuss the problem our customer is having with this light switch and fan setup. So if you listen closely, this is set up on a standard dimmer switch. As you turn the dial down, you can hear the fan hum. So there's a problem there. What we're looking at is these switches are not designed to run a fan motor. Now there is an option out there. It would be pretty invasive to set it up, but you can get a variable speed switch to run the fan motor as in place to pulling the chain, like most people are accustomed to. So what the customer's opted to do in this situation is just run everything off a single switch. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that, and let's get going. So first thing we'll do is remove this cover. So it's pretty basic on a dimmer switch. Pull the knob off, place it there, and then it's just 2 flathead screws to remove the cover. So now you can kind of better see what the switch actually is. And this is just a standard light switch we're replacing it with. So the first step to this entire process is obviously cutting the power. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'll be right back with you.
While he's doing that, I'm going to discuss some of these tools that we have with us. So these two things, we have a multimeter electrical current reader. We have a voltage detector. Multimeter is about, could run roughly for 200 bucks. This is more accurate. You can read AC, which is alternating current, and DC, which is direct current. And this is just really to give you an idea of whether or not current is going through the wires. You have your standard 15 amp single pole switch. You have your line spin pliers here with wire strippers attached. That's a neat little feature. And here we go.
Alright, so as you can tell from the darkness, obviously we've cut the power. Now it's time to pull this out. Take a look. It takes 2 Phillips head screwdrivers, or screws, excuse me. Take a minute or two to get them out. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got here. Now, as Joe discussed, we have the multimeter and the voltage detector. I can bring this over. As you can see, there's power in this room. Let's see if we can find an outlet. Right here. That is a live reading for detecting power, so that outlet's hot. So now we know that this particular tool functions properly. So I can utilize this to tell me that this indeed did cut the power. You simply just touch it to the insulation on the wires, and we're good to go. Never trust the circuit breaker, always double check. Okay, so now that we're good, take a look at what we got going on in here. Now this is a pretty common setup. It's not standard, but we have the power going to the light, and the way I can tell that is there's not 2 wires coming into this box, just this. So the power's coming through this black wire into the switch. The switch is either allowing current to go through or shutting it off back up through this white wire, which would feed the light. So in order to replace this, it's a pretty simple operation. Undo these, undo these. Black is your positive. So this is where all the power comes from the box. This green wire onto the bare copper would be your ground wire. And then we have the white, which in most cases would be a neutral, but in this case it serves as a second power. Now what we're going to do differently here, that whoever wired this up initially didn't do, is flag that as hot, which in most places is accepted by code. We simply just put a piece of black electrical tape that tells an electrician who would come in after us, or contractor, that this is indeed a hot wire. Go ahead and flag that. A little bit of electrical tape. And simply wrap it around there. Now there's no question at all as to if that is indeed a hot wire or not. Alright, so now we'll take our linesman pliers. Okay, and with that done, that's pretty much all the prep work. So we're going to go ahead and start installing the switch. So if you take a look at the switch, and in a future video we'll discuss outlets. These are brass screws that pretty much just tells me that these take power. On an outlet, there's a side with silver screws, and then you see this guy here, also different color. That is for the ground. They're color coded. It's a universal system, so there's no question at all. And then most people know the switch itself on, off, so you just put it up. Alrighty. So we'll start with attaching the ground. I like to start with that. It gets it out of the way. Now one thing to remember with screws is righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you want your hook on your wire to follow that. Otherwise, as you're tightening them down, the wire itself can be pushed out from underneath the screw, which creates a lot of issues we just don't want to get into. As you can see, if you look real close, the insulation will not be underneath the screw once it's attached. That's a matter of preference. I've seen it done both ways. The biggest thing is that it's not stripped back into this area, or it could potentially touch another wire and arc. Alright, and then I'm going to come over here, grab some electrical tape. This is a dying thing. I stick with it. It's old school, as I was taught. It came from the time when all work boxes, which is the box this actually sits in, were metal. So what it is you simply take a good length of electrical tape and you cover all the terminals with it. Now what this does is prevent arcing, because you have to remember that it's not just the wire that's live, it's also that screw now. So by covering those, that eliminates prevents arcing, excuse me, and just makes a safer operation. It also, you know, should somebody ever get into this, it's a safety feature to make sure they're not getting zapped. And yeah, that took all of 5 seconds, so it's well worth the time. So now we take the wires, bunch them together, push that bad boy back in there, grab my screwdriver, this guy in, making sure that I can read off and on appropriately. It's pretty easy to get these upside down. Get that started, push this guy in. They gotta get snuck in there. Looks like it's sitting straight. So now we're gonna do a function test. I'm gonna go flip the breaker back on. We're gonna make sure everything works appropriately before we close it up.
Now, it's never a bad idea if somebody's standing by the work that you just did, when someone flips on the breaker, just in case there's an arc or some sparks, just gives you a little more safety. That should do it.
Okay. So, switch is in the on orientation. As you can see, the light is functioning as well as the fan. And simple function test. Switch the light off. Everything stops. I'll give it just a second. See that the speed is decreasing on the fan blades. Excellent. So it seems to be working properly. We're going to go ahead and finish it out, close it up. Again, these take 2 flathead screws. Take just a second to line up properly. And there's that. Pretty simple solution to a pretty annoying problem. So, basic switch of any, any light switch. The wiring system in here is not normal, but it's something that you commonly run into. Well, that's it for today. We thank you for your time, and stay tuned for more.